The Hendersons' house has always been there. White siding, blue shutters, trimmed hedges shaped like little clouds. Mrs. Henderson waters her roses every morning at 8. Mr. Henderson leaves for work at exactly 7:32. Their son rides his bike in slow circles on the driveway, never quite leaving. In Wilbrooke, the Hendersons are what you point to if someone asks what normal looks like. So when I woke up yesterday and their house was gone, the first thing I thought was, I must still be dreaming. I stood at my bedroom window, blinking at the empty lot across the street. The grass was there, flat and pale. The outline of where the house should have been looked like a missing tooth. Just a rectangle of slightly darker earth, no foundation, no rubble, no truck marks, no sign anything had ever stood there. Their mailbox remained, though. A neat white post with Henderson stenciled in black, standing alone at the edge of the sidewalk. My stomach churned. In Wilbrooke, we don't talk about people disappearing. We talk about transitions and reassignments. We say, oh, they move closer to family, even when we don't remember them having any. But whole houses aren't supposed to vanish. I dressed quickly, half expecting that by the time I reached the street, everything would be back to normal. It wasn't. The air felt wrong, too still, too heavy. The birds were silent. A few other neighbors stood in their yards, staring at the empty space. No one said a word. Janine's voice floated from a nearby open window, cheerful as ever. Good morning, residents. We're having such a beautiful day here in Wilbrooke. Please remember to keep your property lines tidy and your observations pleasant. I crossed the street. Where the Hendersons' front steps should have been was just grass, smooth and unbroken. As I walked closer, my vision blurred slightly, like heat waves off asphalt. I could make out faint shapes, the suggestion of a porch railing, the ghost of a front door. It hurt to look directly at it. I reached out a hand. The air resisted, thick like jelly. My fingers tingled. For a second, I thought I felt wood under my palm, then nothing at all. Don't push, a voice said behind me. I turned. Mr. Carter from the corner house stood at the curb, hands folded, expression carefully blank. You'll give yourself a headache, he added. Let it settle. Settle? I repeated. Their house is gone. He glanced at the empty lot, then back at me. Is it? His tone made it clear I wasn't supposed to answer. Later that afternoon, the HOA sent out a notice. A paper slipped neatly under every door, printed in that crisp, friendly font. Minor structural adjustment on Birch Lane residents are asked not to disturb the area while recalibration is in progress. All is well. All is well. At dusk, I looked out my window again. The lot shimmered. Slowly, like a photograph developing, lines appeared. The porch materialized first, then the front door, then windows, shutters, siding. The Hendersons' house slid back into existence, color returning piece by piece, like someone painting inside the lines. One moment there was nothing. The next, there it was. Lights already on. Through the front window, I saw Mrs. Henderson drawing the curtains, expression serene. Mr. Henderson sat in his usual chair, reading the newspaper. Their son rode his bike in the driveway, looping the same circle. Normal, perfectly normal, except for one detail. The Hendersons' front door now had 3 locks instead of 1. All of them were on the outside. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of my own house made me flinch, wondering if it was loosening, detaching itself from the world around midnight. There was a knock at my back door, soft, hesitant. I went to the kitchen, heart thudding, and pressed my eye to the peephole. Mrs. Henderson stood on my porch in her nightgown. Her hair was slightly mussed, her hands shaking. She looked real, less like the perfect woman I waved to every morning, and more like someone who had been crying in another room for a long time. I opened the door a fraction. You remember, don't you? She whispered. Remember what? She glanced over her shoulder at her own house, glowing quietly across the dark yard. Shadows moved behind the curtains. The gap, she said, when we weren't there, when we slipped. I swallowed. Yes. Her tears caught the moonlight. Please keep remembering, she said. They're trying to decide if we were ever here at all. Before I could answer, a sharp voice called from across the street. Janine, standing on the Hendersons' porch, smiling in that way that never quite reaches her eyes. "Come back inside, dear," she called. "Your recalibration is complete." Mrs. Henderson flinched. Her body jerked toward the voice like a puppet tugged by a string. "I'm so sorry," she whispered to me, and stepped backward down my porch steps. As she crossed the lawn, she flickered. For a moment, there was that empty lot again, the dark rectangle where their house shouldn't be. Then the image snapped back: house, lights, family. This morning, the Hendersons waved at me from their porch like always. Their smiles are a little too wide now. Their house casts a shadow that doesn't quite line up with the others. Wilbrooke will decide soon whether they count. I leave my porch light on, just in case there's another gap, just in case they need somewhere else to land.